Hey everyone, it's Alyssa from Planned Alyssa, and I'm here with this week's What I Sold on Etsy video. It was a good week for me. I sold 11 items this week for a total of $156.50. So did fall short of my $200 goal, but I'm pretty happy with my sales. I moved out a few clearance items this week, so that's always good. And working towards getting caught back up with listings. I feel like I say this every week, but I do feel like I'm behind and playing catch up, but maybe one of these days I actually will be kind of caught up. Who knows? But in the meantime, I will show you each of the items that sold and how much they sold for. Keep in mind that the price you see is just the price that the buyer paid for the item, so it doesn't include any shipping fees that were paid by the buyer and doesn't include the fees that I paid to Etsy or to purchase the item. But without further ado, here is what sold this week. The first item I sold this week was this teapot. This was something that was in the clearance section of my shop, so I had it priced at $20, marked it down half price to $10, and it did sell. This does not have a happy ending, though. It was one of those items that actually got damaged in transit. It happens from time to time. I mean, obviously you want to wrap things up as well as you can and hope that they make it there in one piece. And I do have to say most things do, but this was just something that didn't survive the journey. When that does happen, the thing to do is obviously refund the buyer right away, refund both the shipping and the cost of the item. Obviously, it's not their fault that it broke, and you just want to make the customer happy, chalk it up as a loss. It was priority mail. I could file an insurance claim if I wanted to, but I probably won't because it was a $10 item and it's just not worth it. But anyway, that's the unhappy story of this sale. The second item I sold this week, this actually went to it was the same buyer who purchased it. She purchased the teapot for someone else and purchased this for herself. And this is a travel alarm clock. Caravelle is the brand on it. And it's like a wind-up style clock. It folds up into that little case there and then pops out to be a little display clock like that. It sold for $12. Did I say that? And I picked this up at a thrift store. I sold this vintage mouse figurine. It was a Lefton brand mouse figurine, sold for $8. I believe when I looked this up, this was part of, I think they probably issued it in the 70s. They had a whole like American Revolutionary War colonial type thing going on. This was the fife player from the Fife and Drum Corps. Anyway, this little porcelain figurine sold for $8, and I think this came from a rummage sale. This was an unusual thing. It was like a signed picture, printed picture of this Ulysses Merker, sold for $30. I don't know. I think I tried to do some research on him and might have included that in the listing. And I'm trying to remember where I got this. I think this must have come from an auction because it's such an odd, unusual thing. And then this is something that came from an auction kind of a while ago. It is a vintage paperweight. It sold for $25. It's got all these different metric conversions on it and very specific like metric measurements that you'd only be using if you're doing some kind of like scientific research or something. So pretty technical kind of thing going on there. Next item I sold was a craft kit. It's a stamped cross-stitch kit, sold for $12. This was an opened kit, but unused condition. Picked it up not too long ago, I believe, at a thrift store, and I know I just listed it this week. This is something that sold in less than a day of listing it, so that's always nice. Sold a single souvenir pennant. This is one of those mini ones. It sold for $8. As I've said in the past, I have a bunch of these, well, less now because I do keep selling them, but that I picked up at an auction. And here's something that had been put in the clearance section of my shop. It's a small travel jewelry box, jewelry case. Originally had this price at $15 and marked it down half price to $7.50. Farrington was the maker on this one, and well, it's one of these things I've had a long time, so I don't exactly remember where I picked it up. And this is a vintage leather wrapped glass bottle, like decanter, sold for $30. I picked this up at a church sale, I want to say like end of the summer, um, maybe early fall, but not too long ago. And this was just a set of those fold-a notes, seal-a notes, whatever you want to call them, from current cards. It was not a complete set. This set sold for $6, and I think this came from like a church sale too. Might have been the same place that I got that decanter from. I'm not sure. And finally this week, the last item was another stationery item. These are a set of vintage birthday seals, like old-fashioned type stickers. I think you would like lick them and stick them on to like a card or an envelope or whatever. Sold for $8. I believe there were 25 total birthday themed seals in this set. They're very small little paper seals. So that's everything I sold this week, guys. I do put out these videos every week showing the different vintage items I've sold over the past week in my Etsy shop, Planned Alissa. And then when I can, try to get some other videos out for you on reselling and haul videos and that sort of thing. So maybe soon I'll have some more of those for you. I hope you all have a great weekend and happy selling, everyone.